what is up? And welcome back to another NRL Round preview. It is round 20. It is Tuesday. The team lists are out. We are in a slightly different location this week. What better place than Huddersfield, the birthplace of rugby league, to be talking to you about the greatest game of all. As ever, joining me is the ever reliable Luke Jobson. How are you going, mate?
Very good, mate. It's been a bit of a wild weekend in rugby league. The last 7 days have produced Christ knows how many different storylines, and there's plenty to come out of Team List Tuesday. So, yeah, plenty to talk about. How are you?
I'm going well, mate. Cheers. I've plenty to go through. Obviously, mass changes at the Warriors with RTS retiring from rugby league with immediate effect. Lisa Narmawa, the latest player to leave the New Zealand Warriors bubble as well. Plenty of changes, plenty of ins and outs, some surprise spots being picked, and I'm looking forward to getting into this one and giving you our tips. So I think without further ado, we jump straight into game number one, and it is the Roosters versus the Eels. The Roosters, the big change, of course, is Adam Kieran named in the four, with Joey Manu switching out to the wing. Other than that, no real changes at the Roosters. Same bench that they named last week, same forward pack that they named as well. Takiaho still in that 17 shirt. Then down to the reserves, it is Marshke, Baker, Graham Tafoa, and White. Over to the Eels is a welcome return for Tom Opacek. He is in the 3. Blake Ferguson returns that 5 shirt after a spell out at the Eels. Other than that, again, no real changes to report from the Eels. Cartwright goes into the 14. Then it's Lane, Kafusi, and Smith. Dunster, Stone, Penasini dropping into the 20 shirt, and Lussick again in the 21. A little bit of a surprise to see Manu shifted out to the wing. Obviously, that injury to Ikavalu has meant that they are a little bit exposed on the edges. They need a little bit of cover, and Joey Manu is your one-size-fits-all multi-tool. He comes in, you stick him at 6, he runs the job. Stick him at 1, he can do it there as well. Stick him on the wing or in the centre. I wouldn't put it past him playing 13 at this point. He's a fantastic and ever reliable backup, and so the Roosters are going to use him in that 5 shirt. I'm immediately going to go Roosters 1-12 here. There it is. There's that look. I just think that the Eels after last week had opportunities to put that game against the Raiders to bed, and they just didn't perform. They've been called out on many of occasions at this point of they'll go out and they'll flog teams and they'll look impressive, but the games that they need to win, they don't. And I don't see this game being any different. I can't see the Roosters. I can't see the Eels standing up to the Roosters here. I think Walker will probably have a blinder at 7, and I just don't see that Eels backline clicking with Brown and Arthur still a bit of a new halves pairing. Go on, retort.
Get out. Go
no. He's too early for stream kicking.
I don't want to agree with you, but we looked like absolute dog crap last week. Like it was painful to watch. We being Parramatta, it's pretty obvious to those out there that I'm a Parramatta fan. Yes, very, very much so, Colin. I am going to implode listening to Matthew talking about that. I hate to agree with you, though, but I am going to say Roosters 1-12. I hate going against Parramatta. I tipped Parramatta against Penrith when we should have lost. I've tipped Parramatta, I think, every game this year. But I am saying Roosters 1-12. It's the smart choice. It is the smart tip. They have an informed James Tedesco. You've got Micah Sevo, who is a bustling winger, but an out-of-form bustling winger because the man doesn't know how to put a football down. You can say what you want about the different combinations because, Drew Hutchison and Sam Walker are somewhat in the same boat. It's still a very unfamiliar halves pairing for the Roosters. There are 2 star fullbacks in there in Teddy and Gutherson. But where I think they have the upper wing here is their number 7s. Sam Walker at least has a little bit more in terms of game experience. He has that ability to ice a game out, and he knows that structure. He can play both sides to an extent. Arthur cannot. Now, Dylan Brown can do as much as he can. He can try and be that ball running a 5'8", but it's just, I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. I think Parramatta, it's going to be close. I don't know if it's going to be a blowout, as some might think, looking at these teams. But I hate to say it, Roosters 1-12 of the pick. We'll give you odds and everything here in a second. Sportsbet obviously very much an Olympic here this year. Roosters are the outsiders according to Sportsbet. They are currently at 245 at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. Roosters 1-12, 375. I think that's a pretty solid bet. Anytime try scorer. Sivo going up against Joey Manu. It's a shout. There's not a lot of value in that. I don't think it's $1.50. I quite like the idea of someone like a Josh Morris coming back in and scoring. I believe he's going to go up against Wonga Blake, who is not the greatest defender on the edge there. Rekindling that combination, I believe, with Blake Ferguson. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Josh Morris go over. Anytime value, I could honestly just say go look at the second row. The 11 and the 12 for both Roosters and Parramatta, Crichton, Tupouniua, Papali'i, and Madison. I'd be very surprised if at least one of them didn't get over. So any of those at a value bet. I'm not going to give you a specific one per se. The lowest odds you can get looking at Sportsbet at the moment for any of those 4, Isaiah Papali'i at 310, Madison at 325, Tupouniua at 340, Crichton 360. So there's some value there, but I hate to say it, Matthew, Roosters 1-12.
Okay, we got Colin watching along. He says that his son Milan says go Fergo for the anytime try scorer market. It's not a bad shout. Ferguson is trying to reclaim his spot. Obviously, he's familiar with a lot of these Roosters players coming from the Roosters to join the Eels. I fancy Tupouniua here, but he did bag last week, and I've not seen Tupouniua go back to back in weeks. So I'm going to go Tupou anytime. I believe as the numbers line up, he's going to come up against Wonga Blake and Blake Ferguson. Tupou's deadly in the air. He's got Morris inside him. Morris, we know that he's fine wine. He just keeps getting better with age. He's got an offload game. All it's going to take is Blake to jam in, coming in on the second rower. I mean, as the numbers line up, Wonga Blake's going to be coming up against Angus Crichton. If Crichton singles him out and gets Morris on a 2-on-1, Morris has got that ability to find a decent offload and put Tupou through. Likewise, Morris is very good in the air. He played a lot of wing through his career. All it's going to take is a kick dropped on his head and Morris batting it backwards and Tupou's in. Likewise, Tupou very good in the air. I think the kicking game is going to be probably what separates these two teams. You've seen that Dylan Brown's having to step up and find a kicking game away from Mitch Moses. Arthur, a lot of his kicks come up shallow and it's causing problems. So again, Papali'i is not a bad shout for an anytime try scorer if those kicks are going to come shallow and they're going to drop between the centre and the second row. Papali'i could potentially nab one there, but I'm going to go Tupou anytime. I'm going to go Roosters 1-12, and I'm going to say back the under for this game. I can see it being a tight, low-scoring affair.
That is the first two completely agree with. The under, you think low-scoring, 4 of the last 5 games have hit 49 points or more. The only game that was under 49 points was midway through last year during Origin, and it was a 24-10 win against Parramatta. That one going the way of the Roosters. Previously, it was a 48-10, 44-10, 32-18 24-10, and Parramatta earlier this season a 31-18 win.
I just think that the absence of players like Moses and Keary for these fixtures are going to make they're going to lead to a little bit of rust between them. I don't think that the backlines are going to click as well as they could be. Those halves pairings, I think it's going to be a bit of a dogfight. You saw it last week with the Raiders as well. The Eels tend to lose games that they need to win by small margins. So there's my logic on that one. So I'm going to say. I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna say go with the under.
You're a brave man, Matthew. I'm gonna be so sad if Parramatta wins after I tip against them. I'll be very happy, but very sad.
Okay, and over to the next game. It is the Tigers versus the Warriors. Obviously, we spoke briefly about some of the Warriors changes, but we'll go through the Tigers first. And only 2 changes out of the Tigers, and that is Mbai coming back into the centre. He served his time out on the sideline, and Offa Hengawe is out of the 14 shirt and into the 13, which means that Twal, Amon, Simpkins, and Chikan make up the bench, with Talagi, Madden, Sini, and Simpkin all in the reserves. Other than that, there are no changes for the Tigers. Over to the Warriors, though, and it is changes aplenty. So they have stuck with that same 1 to 5 that ran out last week. So it's Walsh, Watenis, Lesniak, Pompey, Aitken, and Montoya. In the 6, and the man named as captain, it is Petahiku, with O'Sullivan in the 7. Tanoa Brown comes into the 8 as there's no Fanua Blake this week. Otakulo comes out of the 14 and into the 9. Murdoch Masilla out of the reserves and into that starting 10 role, with Elisa Katoa welcome back into the 11 shirt. Then it is Sirinen and Curran making up the remainder. Nikarima demoted to the 14 shirt. That one comes as a surprise to many. Bunty Afoa in the 15, Evans in the 16, and Tavonga in the 17. Then the reserves, Valet, Corsi, Peterson, Rabati, and you will notice that the 22 is vacant at the minute. The Warriors unable to name a number 22 due to injuries mainly, and the fact that they can't really invite players into their bubble, despite the fact that Leeson Armour and Roger Tuivasa-Sheck have now left that Warriors bubble. It's going to be an emotional one for the Warriors. Obviously, they are now starting life without RTS, their influential captain. It's come sooner than they thought. They won't have been prepared for that. I know that many people were not prepared for that news when it actually came along, and it came as a shock to many people. But obviously, Rogers going to Union, there was worries that the whole bubble and quarantine periods and everything would affect that transition, and the Warriors have said, look, we won't stand in your way. So we do wish Roger Tuivasa-Sheck the best in his transition into rugby union. He'll be sorely missed by league, but the Warriors can't let emotion get the better of them for this one. Obviously, this one, they'll be hoping to go out and get a win for Roger and for those players. They know that it's coming to the back end of the season, and they're there or thereabouts when it comes to the final spots. But they're still in with a shout. But they need to start winning the games like this. Those games that have gotten away from them and they've allowed teams to run up scores on them in games that they should be keeping tight or winning. They need to start producing. And I say that with the greatest love and respect for the Warriors. I absolutely love the New Zealand Warriors and everything they do for the game. And it's just that they need to start clicking better. I mean, switching up and going Petahiku in the 6, O'Sullivan in the 7, and demoting Nikarima to the bench. No Chad Townsend this week as well through injury. Those spinal changes immediately worry me. As much as I would like to back the Warriors in this one, I am going to have to say that it's going to be a Tigers. The margin, I'm umming and ahhing. I'm going to say Tigers 13 plus. Colin says that him and his son are going Tigers by 10 in this one. I join a similar line of thinking. Think that those spinal changes are going to create issues. Walsh is still finding his feet at fullback while he's a gun player. He's still learning the trade. He's not had a great deal of game time. O'Sullivan, exactly the same. Quality player, just not a great deal of time. Hiku, it's been a long time since he's played 6. I believe the last time that he ran out in the halves was probably for Warrington in the Super League. Most of the time, he's found himself in the centre or on the wing. So, and Otakolo as well, another spinal change. It's just too many changes for me this week for the Warriors, and I think it's going to create that incohesion, and I think that the Tigers take this one by 13+.
Mate, there'd be plenty of orthopedic surgeons that would be happy to see this amount of spinal changes in one day. I gotta agree with you there. Tigers by 13+. The Warriors will want to do this for Roger. There's no doubt about it. They are, I want to say, the feel-good story of the last 2 years. They've given up so much, and everyone was so happy to see them being able to go home before everything happened here in Sydney, and then, of course, just across this East Coast. The Tigers at points last week look good. They look really good. But at points doesn't do it against some of the top teams. At points might do it this week against the Warriors. As you mentioned, Hiku in the 6. I don't know why you put him there. Yeah, I know Nikorima hasn't played well recently, but it's still an out-and-out half as opposed to Hiku, who has a short kicking game, but not much else. Passing game, not great. More of a ball runner. O'Sullivan, decent enough 7, but again, not a great, not a, select every week number 7. Otakolo, I apologize if I butchered that. I feel like I did. He's been good. He's been really good in limited game time this year. But again, you look at the bench and you see Jazz Tavanga, who is a running 9 who can and does play 13 as well. Is that the best use for him in a Warriors side that is currently down to 20 active players? I don't know. They had to recall Tanua Brown a week early because of what happened last week to Adam Fanua-Blake. Unfortunate for him because he was looking fantastic coming off a very serious knee injury. It means Murdoch Masilla comes in, start, hasn't been really great. And you just look at the depth. Vile, Kossi, been there, got dropped. Pedersen, Rabadi, haven't seen a lot of him. There are good wraps around him, but haven't seen what he can do at first grade. They're still missing the fish. Davey Fusatua, still not named, still not there. Not overly sure what the go is. I'm hoping that everything's okay with him. And, everything outside of rugby league there. But, 13+ for the Tigers. Anytime try scorer, the one that immediately stands out for me is Luciano Leilua. Strong, hard, ball running forward. The Warriors have struggled with short side plays of recent times, and the Tigers seem to love doing that at the moment. You'll have Dewey and Brooks wrap around the back. You've got Dane Laurie out there who can deliver a beautiful ball to Nofaluma or Kenny Mamalo, who's seen a bit of a resurgence in form. You've also got the short and sharp Tommy Talau, who's there. Unfortunate that Pauga is out of the side. I thought he's played well the last couple of weeks. But they're going to have to respect Dewey and Laurie's combination. And as a result, it wouldn't be surprising if I see Leilua go through. Tigers 13+, Leilua anytime.
Okay. I'm going to say Tigers 13+, bless you. I'm going to say Tigers 13+ as well. I'm going to say that the obvious pick for an anytime try scorer for me, just with the storyline alone, is Kevin Marlowe going over against his old side. I think that if he gets one-on-one with Tenny Zelezniak is a solid defender, but I just think that Kenny Mamalo is too big, too strong. Again, aerially, very, very good under the high ball, very good with those precision kicks. While Brooks has been a little bit off with his kicking game, Dewey's definitely been finding his range. And it creates a lot of issues when you've got a 6 and a 7 pairing who can kick. You'll notice that Brooks has been doing a lot of the short kicking, whereas Dewey's been doing a lot of the pinpoint kicking. I like that setup. It does create an air of predictability, but also if you know that kick is going to drop in one of those areas, it gives players a good opportunity to set deep and really come onto those balls. And I think that Maumalo, taking it above the head, AFL style, we've seen him do it time and time again. I believe that he probably does it here against the Warriors. So I am going to go 13 plus. I'm going to go Tigers on that margin. I'm going to go Maumalo anytime. I don't really fancy any other picks in there. I wouldn't like to put an over or under on this one because, as you can see, although I am fairly confident with the Tigers 13 plus, it's just a case of how many points they've run out by. You could see this being something daft like a 26-4. I don't think the Warriors get nilled. I just don't see them scoring a great deal of points. And I think that the Tigers are good in patches, as we said. But I just think that those patches will be too good for the Warriors at this point.
Yeah, very much agreeable there.
Okay, and we will now get to the biggest head-scratching game of this round, in my humble and honest opinion. It is the Broncos versus the Cowboys. As you'll notice with the Broncos lineup, they are not going through a great deal of changes. Tessie New is returning that one shirt. Corey Oates, again in the 2. Isako has clearly earned his spot back and will be in the 5. Staggs and Farnworth are your centres, with Gamble and Croft becoming that familiar house pairing for this Brisbane side. Palacia comes into the 8 shirt, with Kennedy demoted to the bench. Haas in the 10, Turpin in the 9, Glenn and Ricky again in the 11 and 12, and Hetherington in the 13. Danny Levi coming in the 14 shirt. It's great to see him back. I don't think that he's been given enough chances to show off how good of a player he is, and he could create a great deal of issues in this game. Kennedy in the 15, Bullimore in the 16, and Rabati in the 17, with Willison, Arthurs, Kelly, and Coates on the bench. And then we go to the Cowboys side. See if you can spot the problem. That's right. Jake Granville is your fullback. You did not mishear that. Jake Granville is your fullback.
Look, you hang on. Let me stop you there. You say that's a problem, but he was probably the best fullback that the Cowboys have had this year, not named Valentine Holmes. He had a very good game for someone who was put there half an hour before the game started.
Okay, granted. Okay. Felt in the 2, Tulagi in the 3, Lemuelu in the 4, and Bradley gets a second start at first grade in the 5, with Drinkwater and Dearden in the halves. Molo, Robson, McLean, Wright, Dunn, Taumalolo all make up that familiar front row forwards. And then it is Gilbert, Lukey, Hess, and a player that has played a lot of fullback in Ben Hampton in the 17. Over to the reserves, Burr, Arce, Holler, Condon. Straight away, Granville at fullback is the big call out. It's another spinal change for the Cowboys. You look at how they started this season versus where they're at. They've now got Dearden in the 7, Drinkwater in the 6. Drinkwater had not played a great deal of ball. Granville was your 14 for the longest time. Now, all of a sudden, he's your first choice fullback. They're missing Tabuai Fido as well. Ben Hampton just can't get a game at the minute. He's fortunate to be named in the 17. I would have... Dejan Arce, again, another player that's done great things, but just not getting that call up. I would have potentially liked to see him. Hampton from 17 into 1. Arce maybe in the 17. Even run Dejan Arce at the 1 shirt. I wouldn't have been mad at that. But there's just so many changes at the Cowboys. They are riddled with injuries in key spots. You've got a young house pairing who, give it 3-4 years, could be the team that you build, could be the players that you build your team around. And that spine, especially with the likes of Robson as well. Robson's 23, 24, if that. So they've got a bright future. It's just that right now we are playing in the present, and the Cowboys at present, I think, struggle against this Broncos side. And for many of you that tune in week by week, you will notice that it's not very often that I back the Broncos. So I'm saying Broncos 1-12. I just think that the likes of Tessie New playing a blinder in the one shirt. Staggs in the centre. Oates is very much earning his spot back. Farnworth has been serviceable. Isako's got a point to prove. Tyson Gamble is arguably your Broncos captain down the line. He shows that he plays with a great deal of passion, plays with pride. Turpin, again, coming back in the 9. Levi's got a point to prove. He will hope to bump Turpin out of the squad and try and get a starting 9 gig. You've got Albert Kelly, who in the games that he has played relatively well, but finds himself in the 20. Xavier Coates, who, yes, is on his way out, and a lot of people have called for him to be out of the squad, sitting down there in the 21. Queensland winger, Xavier Coates, in the 21. I mean, Broncos want a 12 for me.
I can't let you bash Jake Granville like you have. Granville had a really good game last week. Okay, Hammer was ruled out on what, Thursday? I think it was Thursday.
I think so.
Appendicitis. Yeah, an emergency appendectomy, gone for the season. And you can argue as much as you want about how Todd Payton went this year and how he's gone as a first-year full-time head coach. It was probably the smart call when you see how they played. Granville set up Kane Bradley's first try. It was a beautiful block play. Out the back, quick hands. And if it wasn't for the obstruction, and again, talk about obstruction all you want and how it wasn't, but it was. If you take that out, that's perfect. Cowboys are up 6-0. Granville still is rolling around that ruck like the player that we once knew, the player that was potentially going to replace Cameron Smith in Origin. That's how they set up the Cohen Hess try. He was jumping out of dummy half and got the ball to Cohen close to the line. I can't let you bash him like that. That said, I'm going Broncos 13+. Just Tony Staggs has, I don't get it. It's one player. It's one guy. But he has turned this Broncos side into something that is just, it's watchable. It's watchable football now from them. Tessie New, Tony Staggs, Tyson Gamble, and Payne Haas are making this Broncos side watchable. And it's not something I thought I was going to be saying 2 months ago. Oates is having, I won't say a career resurgence, but he's looked okay. Yeah, it's the serviceable Corey Oates that we know. Herbie's doing his job. Brody Croft is doing his job. Who would have thought we would have been saying that after round 1? They obviously have a little bit of faith in Keenan Palacia. He's starting at prop. Don't know why, but he's doing a job. He's done a job the last 2 weeks as a rotation prop. Plays 30-odd minutes. Gets through the tackles. Gets the hit-ups done. And it gives more room for them to have the likes of Danny Levi there, instead of someone like a Jesse Arthurs who's there as what exactly? I mean, Levi can play 9. He can play that rolling lock. We saw Kobe Hetherington play 9 for a little bit last week as well. I think they just, everywhere I look in that side for Brisbane, if you compare it to the Cowboys, at least from 1 to 13, I think the Cowboys would win 3 of those positionally. Maybe. I would argue Frankie Molo beats Palacia. Tamalolo obviously knocks off Hetherington. Maybe Felt over Isako on form currently. That's about it. Broncos had their shot last week. It didn't work, but they've looked good the last couple of weeks. The Cowboys are hot and cold. They are the definition of Katy Perry. They are hot 1 minute, freezing cold the next.
Okay.
Broncos 13+.
I'm going Broncos 1 to 12. I just think that at the minute the Cowboys are a little bit disarray. Yeah, you've got players in the Broncos side who are now on notice. You got Tessie New, who's still not got a contract, and there's plenty of fullbacks floating around the league right now. You've already seen Nico Hines go. You've already seen Nick Meaney go. the amount of fullback spots available for the 2022 season is drying up very quickly. So the Broncos need to make a decision. But Tessie New basically needs to thrust the Broncos' arm. He needs to say, look, I'm either your fullback or I'm gone. It's as simple as that. And at the minute, he's doing a pretty good job of that. So on that logic, I'm going to go Tessie New anytime. I'm going to throw in Stags anytime as well. And I'm going to say Broncos 1-12. I think that the Broncos look good. I just don't see this one being a blowout. Bradley had a good game last week. He looked pretty tight defensively. Obviously, he got very unlucky with that obstruction call, as Phil Gould said during the broadcast. If that happens anywhere else on the pitch, it's play on. But because it's been off a try scored, it's pulled back for an obstruction. He's not wrong. I wouldn't say he's wrong on that one, and I think it's a fair comment. So, you know, he's got a point to prove as well. He's held on to that spot. I don't know whether he's held on to that spot through his performance or the fact that the Cowboys are just spent on options at this point. But either way, he's still there, and while he's there, he's got to do a good job of tying that position down. But to a man at the minute, I'd say that the Broncos are the better side for this one, which is a rare shout from me. Broncos 1-12, Tessie New anytime, Tony Stags anytime, and that's where I go on that one.
Yeah, Broncos 13+, anytime try scorers. I mean, no real confidence on this one. Yeah, Stags is the easy choice, I think. Paying $1.72 on Sportsbet. Look, the way Payne Haas has been running the football, I could see him crashing over for a try as well. His value at $4.50. Same for Tyson Gamble at $4.50. Those are probably my two Broncos picks in terms of value. The Cowboys, their attack hasn't been great, but if I'm picking one, probably Murray Talongi at $2.63. That screams value. I think he should be priced more at a $2.30. Believe the numbers line him up against Herbie Farnworth, who is a very big, very strong center, but can get caught out on the slide. And that's where I think the Cowboys will get them. It'll have to be some quick hands. Drinkwater will have to very quickly slash around the back. I don't know if they'll pay extra attention to Granville, but they know that his passing game is dynamic and can go both ways. So I think they'll pay just enough attention to leave a hole there until he slides through. Broncos 13+ is the safe tip, the confident tip. If you want to multi it, I'd go Stags and Talangi.
Okay, then. We will get on to the next one. This one is the easiest one for me.
Oh, hang on. Can we pull a Luke in 60 seconds?
Yes. Right. Okay.
All right. Get the timers out, ladies and gentlemen.
2, 1, go.
All right. Matt Duffy to the reserves. I don't know why. The Dragons are done for that one. Jay Sullivan stays in the 6 for them. Corey Norman goes into the centres. What the hell? DeBell and Bird, Laurie all out. Farmer Silly, Billy Burns, and Tyrell Fuimaono in the starting side back from suspension. Ramsey out with a wrist injury. Mr. Amon is coming in as his replacement. Maguire left out, which means there's no obvious sin bin choice this week. For the Bunnies, Arrow comes into the starting side. Murray is out with a suspension. Campbell Graham is back. Tane Milne harshly dealt with. He's gone. Liam Knight to the bench with Blake Taff, who is in the 14. Braden Burns to the reserves. No AJ as suspected for at least another week, if not 2. Bunnies by 20+. Anytime try scorer. Campbell Graham, Latrell Mitchell. I'm not picking Cody Walker. He's burnt me too much. Damien Cook goes skirting through. I'm not going Mark Nichols this week, but could be a bit of a value bet. If you want to look at any of the Dragons, I would argue Matt Feeney is your best shout. Jackson Paulo, not great in the air, but the Rabbitohs are going to put 50 on the Dragons. See you later. Good night.
Okay. That was as quick as expected. Yeah, I join a similar line of thinking. It's just these changes. Yeah, everyone's calling. Yeah, Rabbitohs by 22. By 30 if Cameron Murray is playing. Again, not wrong. These changes absolutely blow my mind. Corey Norman into the centre. I've not seen him play centre for the longest time. He's got Max Fige outside him. And Moan, a second rower and a front row forward by a loose forward by trade, dropped into the centre with a player who retired and has came back this season is Gerard Beale. This Sullivan-Hunt combination, just still not doing it for me. Clune in the 14, God knows what he's done to deserve this treatment. Ramsey, as you said, out with a wrist injury, but named at the 18. Dufty in the 19, Pereira and Williami on the bench as well. You have a centre in Braden Williami in your reserves, and you've gone Corey Norman. You've gone Corey Norman. Okay. You have a recognised winger in Pereira. He might not be playing the best, but he's a recognised winger. Figa, yes, he's young, he's coming up, but these centre choices have absolutely blown my mind. Sloan, yeah, okay, he's done a good job when he's come in and he's played, but he's playing the Rabbitohs this week. Give the kid a chance, for the love of God.
Calm down, mate. The door behind you might blow off its hinges if you keep stirring there.
Oh God, honestly, the Rabbitohs have got this one absolutely. But the Dragons are bang to rights. Take the Rabbitohs on a minus 29.5. Back the over. Players to score this week: Mitchell, Graham, and Paulo. I'm saying all go over. There'll be a forward in there as well. Taff, as you know, when he came on at full back and replaced Latrell Mitchell, he was playing absolutely spot on. Milne has had to drop out the side to accommodate him. Basically, you've still got no Benji Marshall, and they're still playing absolutely phenomenally. Benji was one of their standouts. Kaloma again, just doing the job in that 11 shirt, ever reliable, workhorse up the middle. This Dragons side, for me, do not even stand close. I'd be tempted to even push it out as far as minus 39.5. The Rabbitohs could go 100 not out here. Like, it's going to be an absolute cricket score. This Dragons selection, absolutely. I don't know what they've done here. No Laurie this week, so they put Kerr in. Farmasili playing limited game time off the bench is now a starting prop. Burns, again, limited time off the bench. Fumiono. Sims is about your only decent forward in there for me. Clune, 14. Hunt in the 15. Ford in the 16. Ellis in the 17. And then your reserves are all made up of backs who have been dropped or have carrying injuries. You look to the Rabbitohs bench: Taff, Knight, Margot, Host. I've given my tips for this one. I'm done here. I'm done here. I'm done.
Oh my goodness, the look on your face was just like, bruh.
We're getting on to the Knights and the Raiders. If I talk, I'm in trouble. Right. Okay, then we will go to the next game, and that is the Knights and the Raiders. Anari Tuala is moved into the wing with Brabham Best coming back into that 4 shirt. So Dom Young is the unfortunate omission from the side this week. Crossland named in the 6, Clifford named in the 7. Interestingly, though, you look to the reserves, and Mitchell Pearce is named in the 21, with the fact that Clifford is named in the 7 shirt and Crossland named in the 6. I think that one of them is about to drop out and Pearce comes in. Tex Hoy cannot buy a game at the minute. He's been demoted to the reserves for the longest time. Just the way it is sometimes. As for the Raiders, they welcome back Jack Whiten and Elliot Whitehead. They are both promoted straight into their starting lineup. Whiten in a 6, Whitehead back into that preferred 12 shirt. Hudson Young into the 13. Sutton dropping out, and then the bench is Starlin, Tomoko, Soliola, and Tarpanay, with Frawley, James Simonson, and Louis all in the reserves. Raiders 13 plus. Straight from the go. The Raiders weren't fantastic last week, but they did the job where they needed to. Hardy goal line defence, arm wrestle with a more dominant Eels pack, and they held up everywhere that they needed to. The Knights, they've got a good forward pack, but the form is just not there. You've got Connor Watson looking for options elsewhere after turning down a Knights contract. You got the Saifiti brothers doing their job, playing well. Clemmer reportedly on the outer on his way out of the Knights as well. King and Jones trying to make a push for a starting shirt, but not being able to get one. Still no Fitzgibbon for the Knights as well. I mean, the Raiders here, their bench, Starling, Tomoko, Soliola, Tarpanay, you inject them into this lineup and it doesn't look pretty for the Knights. I'm immediately going straight for Raiders 13 plus. I think Valamir gets a try, and I think Whiten does as well for my anytime try scorers. I just think that this Knights defence, especially in the forwards, has a tendency to rush the line, especially with the likes of Clemmer coming off for the bench and trying to make a bit of an impact. Has a tendency to jump the line. All it's going to take is Jack White and a stellar dummy, and he's through. He's got a very good running game. The Raiders like to utilise that running game and pick holes in bigger sides, and I can't see it being any different here. I know that I've said that it'll likely be Pearce that comes in and Crossland probably drops out and Clifford goes back to the 6. As it currently lines up, though, and the story that's been sold is that it might not happen. If that is the case, Crossland and Clifford don't fill me with much hope. I mean, you've got Bradman Best coming back. That's a huge boost, but you've still got Kurt Mann playing in the 3. And you've got, I'd say that Dom Young's been pretty hard done by here. You'd say that there's a better argument for Mann going into the 6 and partnering Clifford in the halves, although that didn't work earlier in the season. And then keeping Young and Tuala as a centre wing combination. Dom Young brought an element of danger to the edges. You know, those long ranging legs, those ridiculous lengthy arms. He was good in the air. He had a great stride length, and he created issues whenever he carried the ball. And it's unfortunate to see him cut from the squad. But you know, Tuala's been doing his job, and Kurt Mann apparently has been doing his job in the centre as well. So that's how they line up. I can't see them beating the Raiders here, especially after that performance last week against the Eels from the Raiders. So Valamir, White, and any time Raiders 13 plus, and Knights to be in for a long day at the office for me.
I don't know if it was more the Raiders were good more than Parramatta was just trash. They won. it was close, but they won. Yeah, I don't know, man. This is a tough one. It's a really tough one to pick because I don't really think I would pick either of these two sides playing nearly anyone else. And that includes the Dogs. For whatever reason, the Dogs have been okay the last couple of weeks. But we'll get to them. We're currently scouring the internet for any news on Luke Thompson. So we'll follow up on that in a little bit. I feel like we've matched on basically everything. So I'm gonna throw this in the air. If Mitchell Pearce plays, Knights 1-12. If Mitchell Pearce plays, he'll link up with Ponga. It'll take a lot of responsibility off, I would say, the likely Clifford, who will drop into the 6, and Crossland would be out. It'll free up the attack. It brings less attention on the Ponga because you look at Crossland and Clifford and you know more or less where they're going to go. If you put Pearce in there and have Clifford at 6, Clifford can run. He doesn't do it often, but he has enough of a running game that they can't slide too much. That gives more room for Ponga on the outside. Then he can set up the likes of Bradman Best, Denari Tuala, Heimel Hunt, etc., etc. You also have the opportunity, if they so choose to do so, I don't think they will, of throwing Kurt Mann back there for an attacking raid or 2 and have Ponga sit in the 6 and kind of have that second phase play where Ponga either kicks on the burners and goes through the gap at the second row, or he goes out the back to Mann, who again has not been overly great this year, but has enough utility traits that he can float either side and almost play like a second fullback. But that's if he plays. If Pearce does not play, I'm with you on the Raiders. But it's Raiders 1-12. Whiten has not been good this year at all. He's been trash. Don't know how he was the Origin 6. You can cry all you want about how Mitch Moses played. If Whiten is not the 6, if someone else is, New South Wales win. Rapana, fantastic last week at fullback for what is their 1, 2, 3, 4, 8th choice fullback. I don't know what he is at the moment, but he's doing enough to keep Caleb Akins out of the side. So, read into that what you will. Bailey Simonson is back. Potentially, if he does play, he could go to fullback. Smith Shields would drop out Rapana to the wing. But again, who knows? It's a waiting game. Not overly sure about Tomoko in the 15 there. It's a bit of a nothing kind of substitution, I suppose. You've got Tanamis Louis and Ryan James sitting there who provide more go forward than Tomoko, although he only played 7 minutes last week, did his job. Anytime try scorers. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Corey Harawira Naira. I picked it last week at $5. I'm going at it again. He is a gun. He's had a career resurgence at the Raiders after the issues that happened last year at Canterbury Bankstown. He's been superb. He comes up against Barnett, who is a strong defender but can get caught on the inside. Corey goes over. If I'm looking at the Knights, hard not to go past Kalen Ponga. He's out and out their most dynamic attacking threat. If you want to look at value on the Knights side, these are some Raiders forwards, and there's not a heck of a lot of depth there. You got Tarpanay, who typically plays 13. Soliola, who's a prop. Papali'i can play 80, but doesn't. Gula can play 80, doesn't. Wouldn't surprise me if Jaden Brayley goes over, scoots over from dummy half. I think that's a very distinct possibility. So, come back an hour before game time on Saturday. 4:30 on Saturday. Come back, watch this preview. It'll be on Recast. Have a look. If Pearce plays, Knights 1-12. If Pearce doesn't play, Raiders 13+.
Okay. And we will get to arguably the most interesting fixture of this round. It is the Storm versus the Panthers. The Storm, welcome back Cameron Munster, as well as Felice Kafusi and Dale Finucane. As a result, Kamikamitha goes to the bench. Booth drops out the team. Penny is into the 14. Chris Lewis in the 16. And Ryan Pappenhausen will retain that 17 shirt. Not opted to go back into the 1 shirt just yet. In the reserves, Eisenhuth, Harry Grant, Jordan Grant, and Lumi for the Storm. Other than that, they are unchanged and they are looking deadly. Over to the Panthers, and there are a few changes. Obviously, the news broke this morning that Brian Toto is out injured and could miss up to, I believe, 6 weeks on his injury. So as a result, Brent Naden is into the 4, Jennings is into the 5, with the news that Tyrell May is also out injured. Burton moves from the centre into the 6, with Luai into the 7, Moses Leota into the 8. Mitch Kenny is in the 9 shirt with Api Coruscant suspended. Liam Martin coming into the 10 with James Fisher-Harris also missing. And then it is Kikau, Capewell and Eisenhuth for that familiar 11, 12, 13. Targo in the 14, Sorensen in the 15, Lediu in the 16, and Hopgood comes in the 17 shirt. Momorovsky, Jamin Salmon, Smith and Falls make up the remainder of the reserves. It is a big ask for the Panthers this week to come up with points against this Storm side, which is unfortunate considering how well the Panthers were tracking, but obviously injuries play a big part of that. I'm going to go straight on Storm 1-12 here. I think the fact that they are missing Cleary, the fact that they're missing May, Naden coming in for an unfamiliar wing centre pairing with Jennings. Burton is still learning. He's a good half, but you're now up to Burton Luai for your 6-7 combo. No Api Coruscant, which means that Mitch Kenny's going to likely play the full 80 minutes. Kenny's good, he's serviceable, but he's not Api Coruscant. Liam Martin's going to be asked to do big minutes, no doubt. He's used to coming into a game, being into a game that's already established his rhythm. He's going to be there in a starting prop role. Leota, again, has to come in and do the job. You've still got Kickout Capewell, two very good players. You've still got Eisenhuth in the 13. Momirovski, I don't know what he's done or who he's annoyed, but he's just found himself unable to break into this side at the minute, especially with Brent Naden coming back in and playing not well, but he's doing his job. He's doing his job at the minute. And Jennings coming in and taking that wing spot. I mean, the news came out yesterday that Craig Bellamy has rejected an offer from the Sharks to stay with the Storm. You know, it's just the talent that he has available to him, even with injuries, is just terrifying. You've got Pappenhausen just sat there in the 17, still waiting to go. Hines, why would you drop him? He's arguably one of the form fullbacks. You bring Munster back. Yes, he can be a bit of a hothead at times, but when it's Munster and Hughes running the show, it's immediately a problem. The Panthers, you look to their 6-7, does not stand up to Munster Hughes for me. Luai, yes, he's very good. He's the Blues 6 of choice, but he's not the Blues 7 of choice. The Blues 7 of choice is currently out injured, and Luai has been moved into that 7 role. You got Brandon Smith, again, just holding his own there in that 9 shirt. Harry Grant just waiting in the reserves, ready to go again, running on fitness tests, no doubt. Kamikamitha did a great job in the 13. He loses his spot to Dale Finucane again, another player that is on his way out of the Storm and on his way to the Sharks. As per the news earlier this week, just the talent and the depth that they've got is just going to be too much here for the Panthers. And I do lean slightly towards Storm 13+, but I'm going to go Storm 1 to 12 just because I think that the Panthers do keep this one competitive and it'll be a low-scoring game.
Panthers 13+. Storm 13+. I'm out of it. Oh. Let's rewind. Let's rewind a little bit.
Come down from ceiling.
I saw the steam coming out of your ears and I realized, I might have screwed up there. Watch the Panthers win 13+ now. I'm very curious to see what they do with Pappenhausen. The rumors were before the teams were announced that Pappenhausen would be would drop into the 1 and Hines would drop onto the bench. Obviously, that's not happening. I thought the team looked a hell of a lot better last week with Nico Hines in the side at 1 as opposed to the 6 or the 9 where he played hooker for a little bit. Yeah, I feel bad for Cooper Johns who came in there and did a job to then get hooked. But welcome to being part of the Storm roster, I suppose. Look, the Panthers' attack is not the same without Nathan Cleary. Mind you, it's going to be a hell of a lot better with Luai and Burton than Burton and May. Tyrone May was, I don't, yeah. Like, you go look back at the Tyrone May of 2 or 3 years ago, and he was beating out Jerome Luai for a spot. Now he just looks gross. On the field, he looks gross. It's not Panthers football. It's reserve grade Panthers football. So I'm sure that the Panthers will be happy to see Burton and Luai back there. Naden coming in. Yeah. I don't know. You got Targo there, who I think could be a little bit better off. But then, again, like you said, you got Momirovski, who's just... I don't get it, man. Just 1 or 2 of these selections I'm not sure about. But there's a reason why we're sitting here on the podcast doing this, or video live stream, whatever you want to call it, as opposed to coaching the reigning grand finalists. Storm 13+, though, the attacking shape of the Storm will be a lot better. Yes, the Panthers do have a very strong defense nonetheless, but it's the Storm. that's just it. It's the Storm in Queensland, where it's basically a second home, be it quarantined or not. I think they're just going to be too strong. If you're looking for a Panthers anytime try scorer, like Billy Kickout from close, he always seems to have some fun against the Storm. Justin Olam, I have no doubt, is going to go screaming over Stephen Crichton. I think Hines will score here. I think he's going to want to prove that he deserves that one shirt over Pappenhausen and that Ryan's going to have to force his way into the one as opposed to Nico giving it back to him. I'd be confident throwing those three in a multi with Storm 13+. I don't know what it's going to pay. I can probably tell you in 60 seconds time. But I'd be pretty confident knowing that Sportsbet have a 3-leg back or 3+ legs. One goes down, get your money back. I would be relatively confident throwing those 4 legs in. So give me 30 seconds. I'll tell you that. Mr. Matthew Wright, who do you have any time?
For my any time, I'm going to go Munster. I am also going to go Hines for them. So I think it's going to be the Spines that do that. I'm going to also say back the under on this game. I think that it's going to be a tight one for me. I know that you're going 13+, but I'm going to say back the under.
All right, fair enough. Just 3 try scorers, as I said. Kickout, Olam, and Hines pays $18.25. That in itself, I think, screams value. You can throw Storm 13+ at $157 to get that multi up to $27. But I am quite pleased at just the try scorers themselves at a very nice $18 for those 3 legs.
Okay then. Right. We will go to the last game the second to last game, sorry. It is the Bulldogs versus Titans. As we mentioned, Luke Thompson is still waiting to hear back from the judiciary. At present, he's been found guilty of dangerous contact. The panel is now going through the evidence around a possible downgrade that could see that go from a 3-match ban to a fine instead. So that's a hell of a jump between the two decisions made. As for the Bulldogs, the changes that they've made, Corey Allen is into the fullback shirt. Things you love to see. Nick Meaney going to the wing. Avarillo and Flanagan will be your 6 and 7. Avarillo dropping from the 7 into the 6, and Flanagan coming from the reserves into that 7 shirt. And Lockie Lewis still away on Olympic duty with the Australian judo team. Will not be available for selection. Thompson, as we said, waiting for news back from his judiciary. Waddell and Elliott.
Let me interrupt you there real quick. It's just come through. Thompson's grade 2 dangerous conduct charge has been upheld. He received 340 demerit points, thus a 3-game ban. There goes my super coach this week. Please continue.
Okay, then. So that means that likely Siu Manafanai will come into that starting 10 shirt with Stimson going into that 16 shirt instead. Elliott and Jackson in the 12 and 13. Beyond Diodo keeping hold of that 14 shirt with Napa in the 15 as per, and Dory in the 17. Lewis, Simpson, Patolo, and Manu making up the bench. Over to the Titans, and Brimson is in the 1 with Marzu in 2, Kelly in 3. Ursan Masters comes in to that 4 shirt with Thompson in the 5. It is the house pairing of Taylor and Sexton in the 6 and 7, with Wallace, Fotueka making up the front row, Mitch Rainey in the 9, Proctor and Fafita in 11 and 12, and Faso and Malayawe in the 13. Peachy, Lissoni, Fermor, and Jolliffe in the subs bench, and then down to the reserves, it's McIntyre, Stone, Don, and Fogarty for the Titans. Other than that, change in the centres and the swapping of Fermor and Jolliffe. Fermor in the 17 last week and Jolliffe in the 16. Those two decided that they like the fit of each other's shirts a little better, and Masters coming in on the in that centre role. Other than that, the Titans are unchanged. Titans 13+. Yep, agreed. Right, next game.
Is that it? You done?
Yeah. Titans 13 plus for me. I think that the Bulldogs have shown signs of improvement, but not enough for me to think that they hold up against the Titans side, who are still on the edge of making the 8. I mean, you look to the table as things stand, the Titans on 16 points, the closest team to, the 8th spot, the 7th and 8th spot, occupied by the Sharks and the Dragons, both on 18 points. Titans need to be winning these games in order to make sure that they get into the finals and be there to play some September rugby league. And they need the points as well. At the minute, they're behind on points differential on the Raiders, and they need to close that ground. They need to make sure that they're winning these kind of games, and I expect them fully to win this game. I don't expect the Dogs to be able to hold up against this Titans side, who, as we said, showed signs of improvement. Sexton looked good in the 7 shirt. Taylor's playing better in the 6 with that pressure of being the dominant 7 taken off him a little bit. Brimson's killing it at the back. Kelly has been absolutely doing the job in the centres, and Peachy in the 14 shirt is just deadly whenever he makes it to the field, regardless of where you stick him. As for the Bulldogs, obviously, they're now missing. Thompson showed glimpses last week of exactly what he can do with that big run to set up. I think it was Avarillo's try. It was a really good run. That is signs of what Luke Thompson can do. He will be a loss. Sia Manafanai will be asked to probably step up and do the job. Can't see Napa coming in and taking that 10 role. Dylan Napa has massively fallen off for me, and even so, you look to the players that you look to the benches. Peachy, Lasone, Fermor, Jolliffe versus Biondi Odo, Napa, Sia Manafanai, and Dory as things currently stand. That Dogs bench does not stand up. The injection will be too much, and the Titans will win this one 13 plus. I'd say back the over. And as for an anytime try scorer, I'm going to go Marzu and Masters.
I'm going to brag for 2 seconds here.
Go for it.
Got Greggy Boy, and I got the sexy time on his debut, baby. All right, I'm good. I'm done. I will respectfully disagree with your whipping of the Bulldogs bench, because Biondi Odo, however you say it, I do apologize if I butchered that, is a very, very good player. Last week, he set up the try for Shoop, I believe, or Shop. Is just that beautiful spark. He's what Jake Granville was circa 4 or 5 years ago. A spark out of dummy half, coming off the bench, has speed to burn. Dude is quick and isn't afraid to get in, get down, get dirty, and do the defensive work. He is superb. If he's around for another couple of years with Avarillo, with the backline that they're going to have with your Corey Allens, with your Josh Adokars, your Nick Kotrich, Ockenbaugh, it's not been a great year for the Bulldogs. And I'm very much questioning why Luke Thompson was supposedly going to move back to prop. I'm questioning a couple of those decisions from Trent Barrett. But this is a team that next year will turn a couple of heads. It may only be 2, but I think they might turn a couple of heads. As for this week, Titans 13 plus, and Greg's going to score again. I need Greg to score again for Supercoach purposes, but Greg is also just a superb player. He's too strong. He will be going up against Ockenbaugh, which leads me to say that Jaden will score again. Ockenbaugh is very good in the air. Greg, not so much. Greg, very strong on the ground. Ockenbaugh, strong player, great ball runner. Defensively, don't know about that. If they can get Brimson on the outside to set up Marzu, on the outside of Ockenbaugh, Marzu's going to burn him. So those are my 2 anytime try scorers. I'm going to go Titans 13 plus. I don't really know if his value. I'll check the anytime try scorers. If he's above $2, I'm going to say his value. If he's not, I was going to say David Fafita, but currently $1.83 on Sportsbet. So going at a little bit of value, looking at the lineups, we'll go with his partner there in Toby. No, not Toby Sexton. I was going to say sexy time. Look, I mean, hey, I'm down for a little bit of sexy time for another try. But mate, I'm going to become Clarky. Just the meme that goes around of his face. Just oh yeah, that's me with Toby Sexton right now. Kevin Proctor at 420 though. The Dogs' second rowers have been dog poop this year. Proctor doesn't get over that often, but when he does, the Titans win. I think the Titans win. I think Kevin gets over. Throw that one in your multi with Ockenbaugh and Greggy Boy. Sexy time at 375. Man, I'd love to see him go over again.
Okay, then. I think that'll do us on that one, and we'll go to our final game. It is the Sharks versus the Seagulls. The Sharks, a few changes of note. Kennedy returns the 1, Katoa in 2, Chambers in 3, Ramian in 4, and Mulatalo in 5. Then you get up into the halves, and it is Tracy and Trindle who will be your 6 and 7. No Moylan, no Johnson this week. Tolman comes into the 8. Braley in the 9, Woods in the 10, Nakora, Talakai, Rudolph, 11, 12, and 13, with Hamlin Uele going into the 14 shirt, Royce Hunt in 15, Jack Williams in 16, and Andrew Fafita in 17. Moylan in 18, Metcalf in 19, Magulius in the 20, and Lua in 21. As for the Seagulls, not many changes at all. You've still got that back line of Trebojevic, Saab, Parker, Harper, Garrick. Foran in 6, Cherry Evans in 7. Paseka in the 8, Croker in the 9, with Tapau in 10. Olka Artu, Schuster, and Jake Trebojevic. And then over to the bench, it's Walker, Alaye, Kepi, and Sipley. Down to the reserves, Sully, Kust, Gishevsky, and De Luis. Seagulls 13 plus. Again, the Seagulls are firing red hot. As things currently stand, they are one of the form teams. They're too hot to handle across many aspects. They're desperately hanging on to try and make in that 8. They currently sit 6th in the ladder, just above the Sharks, currently occupying 7th. But just because one ladder spot separates these teams does not mean that is the amount of class differential between them either. The Sharks, that halves pairing fills me with very little to no confidence. Tracy Trindle, I don't think I've seen that halves combination out of the Sharks at all. No Johnson, no Moylan. You got Magulius, who just can't seem to get a game at the minute. Arguably could have been there to provide a little bit of spark, but it's just not happening for him right now. Yeah, that forward pack is still pretty strong with Tolman, Woods, Nakora, Talakai, and Rudolph, with, Hamlin, Uele, Hunt, Williams, and Fafita coming off the bench. But this Seagull side on the edges will just pick the Sharks apart. Mulatalo likes to bite in too often. Katoa has a habit of it as well. But yeah, I'm immediately jumping to Seagulls 13 plus. As for an anytime try scorer, I'm going to go Schuster. I just have a good feeling about him this week, and I think that he'll probably punch a hole at the middle and go through. I think that the Sharks side will get too used to oversliding. They'll just be too focused on what Trebojevic is up to either side of the ruck. And that's going to create a gap for the likes of Schuster to be able to slip through close to the line we saw last week. He's got good footwork. He's got a bit of pace as well. And it's just going to create opportunities for him. So that's where I go on that one. Seagulls 13 plus and Schuster anytime.
Okay. Interesting. Sharks 13 plus. Sorry, I just wanted to see the look. Manly 13 plus. Please don't think I'm crazy. It's an easy pick. I think it's one of the easier ones of the week. To be completely honest, it's not a it's not a tough one in terms of 13 plus. I don't know if it'll be much more than about a 14-point game, a 16-point game, because I think the Sharks will give Manly a run for their money early. But Tracy coming into the 6 with Trindle, Again, it's another change in the halves. The Sharks don't really need. Well, I was going to say they don't really need to make. They can't afford to make, but are forced to do. Kennedy's going to have a tough time trying to keep up with Tommy Trbojevic. Just from a playmaking standpoint, he looked okay last week. He's always threatening, more so now with Trindle, because Trindle is a ball-running half. He's a ball-running six, but he's not in the six this week. He's going to have to try and control the game. Tracy's going to be that creative mind that runs around and does all the fancy work with Kennedy out the back. And while it might work for a couple of plays, I don't know how it's going to fare against a superior Manly side in general, really, outside of, I would argue, Ramian over Parker, maybe Katoa over Saab, maybe. I would say that Manly have the number and everything. Don't know why Toby's back in the 13. I thought he's been fantastic the last couple of weeks as a prop. Aaron Woods. Young Shaz is getting a bit on in terms of rugby league. He's not providing enough of an impact for me. Would much rather see Toby in the 10 or the 8. Obviously, Tolman back helps out the forward ranks there, but I'd much rather see Toby in the 10, Woods onto the bench, and someone like a Hamlin Uele or a Jack Williams start, or even Billy Magoulias for that matter, the Greek international. Anytime try scorers, Tommy Turbo, tick. Morgan Harper against Will Chambers, give me that every day of the week, tick. I do like your idea of Schuster going up against Nakora. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but Schuster with the nimble fit work. If he doesn't score one, he sets one up for Tom or Daly. Looking at the Sharks, I keep going on with Ramian. He's one of the strongest centers in the comp. He looks threatening just all the time, but doesn't seem to get over. I'm going to avoid him this week, and I'm going to say that if there is one player that will make an impact and force Manly to jump around a little bit, it will be Connor Tracy. He's nimble on his feet. His utility skills are second to none. I don't know why, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that he's going to dart through, maybe not on a wraparound play, but on a little bit of broken play perhaps, and just get himself over.
Okay. Well, I think that'll do us there then. You have got our tips. We've gone through every single game. Let us know if you'll be back in any. Let us know whether you've enjoyed. And as ever, join us next Tuesday to go through yet another round of the NRL. If there's any games that you did miss, there's a link down just below us to watch Recast, our streaming partner. You can go there, stream all the mini previews of the individual games. And we will hope to see you there, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks very much for joining us, and see you next Tuesday.